I just finished a quick journey where I was actually following a learner driver for much of the journey. And there was a point where I really got to thinking, because they were at a junction, they were struggling a little bit with this junction. And it just really made me sort of think, gosh, there's a lot they're having to think about right now. I'm quite sympathetic when it comes to learner drivers. I think partly it's because of working with a lot of, teenagers that are at that age where they're going through that and understanding, where they're at, where their brains are at and what's going on for them. And I also vividly remember learning to drive because I was so excited about it. But of course, it's a challenge, right? There's a lot to think about. You've got the clutch and the steering and the accelerator and the looking in the mirrors and everything else that's going on. But I actually sort of had a double whammy moment because I was thinking about how that has a parallel with all of the strategic study and the exam technique that I train students in. And at first, and I think, especially for people outside of that have just heard me talk about it and haven't gotten into it, it can feel like there's a lot going on. And there really is. I'm not going to deny that. There is a lot going on, but maybe it feels a little bit overwhelming, or how is that all really going to work together? But I think this is a perfect analogy because it really does. I talk about the 6 elements of exam technique. And just one of those elements being command words, for example. Students need to be able to identify which word or words is the command word, what level of cognition that's operating at, what trigger words they need to be using in their response to show that they are responding to that specific command, etc., etc. There are a lot of elements. But when students have been doing this for quite a while and have had lots of practice and have had my feedback and my training and are really honing this skill, eventually they just do it subconsciously. They innately have those words pop out at them and they know what to do with them. And it's much like driving. So after a while, we don't have to continuously think about exactly what gear we're putting things into, what our feet are doing, what our hands are doing, where to look, what to do in response. We just naturally do it, and we sort of do it subconsciously. So the double whammy moment came where I was like, gosh, I should talk about this on a video. And then I was like, I get quite a lot of my ideas when I'm driving. And then I was like, well, isn't that interesting? Because it's the thing that we used to have to focus so hard on study and think about all the little nitty-gritty details of what's involved in driving a car. And now we do it so subconsciously and so naturally that, for me, my brain has chance and time to think about other things and get some ideas and all the rest of it. And then think about what that can mean for students. When they have that nailed and they are studying more smoothly, strategically, everything's a little bit easier and a lot more successful, well, they can up-level that even more, because when their brain is freer and doing those things on a sort of natural and subconscious level, how many other things can flow in for them that's going to up-level their work even more? So are they going to be able to think of more creative language? Are they going to develop better ideas? Are they going to be able to convey more of the knowledge that they've worked so hard to learn in their subjects? So I wanted to share that with you as sort of an example of what's possible and a real life example of how we're doing this as students and as adults all of the time, and just prove that this is absolutely possible for any student to master these skills and to have that more effortless, easier, and more successful study. So I'm Katie Price, Grade Transformation Expert. If you haven't already had my free parent guide, then that would be a great place to go and check some of this out. It's at www.gradetransformation.com. And maybe drop me a comment below and let me know how, is your team learning to drive at the moment? What's going on for them? What parallels can you draw with other elements of life and what that could mean for them as well? So until next week, have a fantastic week.